Yeah, we start with a little delay because I enjoyed my breakfast this morning. Sorry for that. But then I sent a message to my friend Christian, and he wrote back, hey, times here in Barcelona and Spain are only approximate, so don't worry. They are approximate from what you understand as German. Is it like that, or how do you think as entrepreneur and founder of a company?
Well, the spirit of the country is indeed that things are flexible in general. But I think a lot of those, let's say, stereotypes are pretty old-fashioned and not corresponding to the truth. Yeah. I would argue that productivity in Spain is one of the highest I've ever seen. I did work for a while in German-speaking countries.
Okay.
When I was in college, and everyone got out
in
of
Germany
office.
or yeah.
It was Liechtenstein actually. Yeah, and working. So at 5 p.m. everyone was out of the office, and here it's very typical, especially in Madrid, Barcelona, the key cities, where to see people that are still there at 8. So I think it's a different way to manage time more than the amount of work you get done.
Okay. So now we're here. Welcome again to this podcast. It's Monday morning. It's my first time Barcelona. Sunny, wonderful. So I'm really glad to be here and looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, sure.
Unscripted, as always. So will be fun. You're from Barcelona originally, or
no?
Where did you grow up?
No, I'm a Spaniard, but I was born near Portugal in a place called Zamora, which is
near Portugal.
Near Portugal, okay, exactly, near the border. And it's a small province, and it doesn't have a large university. So I came to Barcelona for college, and then basically stayed since then, moving maybe to work or live a bit abroad, but eventually coming back.
Okay. So now we come closer and closer to the hotels network story, but I think that you had another business even before the hotels network.
Yeah.
What was it?
So the story is that I've been an entrepreneur for over 20 years now.
It's 20 years, so I have to calculate.
Yeah.
No, I don't ask you your age, but...
Almost right out of university.
Because I started at the age of 18 with tailor-made shirts. So
yeah. Yeah. No, in my case,
that's nearly 20 years ago. That was nearly 20 years ago when I started.
Yeah. No, mine was after college. I did a couple of years of consulting for telecom companies. Okay. And then I started a first company. It was actually an internet startup too. Okay. Only that it was way ahead of its time. It was a Q&A site, like Quora would be today, but before social was invented. Okay. So the idea of a social network was not even a thing. So we were doing that, and it was interesting from a product perspective, but at some point it was not necessarily growing, and it was in the first crash of the internet. Okay. So I decided to do something else, and I started a marketing agency, and I was running that for about 10 years. Okay. And that was successful. Didn't raise capital. It was sustainable on its own. Profitable. We had a team of 25 people, and it was quite interesting. Okay. But at some point I wanted to go back to technology, and that's how I started to explore ideas in travel.
So you always wanted to go from service
to product
exactly. To technology.
That was the main idea behind the move. Okay, correct.
What was the idea behind, or why? It was
because in product you can scale in a way that needs less people. Sure. I think when services, for me, the issue is on the plus side is that you can control your own destiny much more. If you're good at that, you can make a living with this. But it's very hard to scale and do something different over time without having a lot of people, a lot of offices around the world, etc. In product, it's actually harder and riskier because you always have this threat of someone doing the same thing you do with better technology. But on the other side, it's something you can scale much quicker and with a different requirements in terms of size team. No? Yeah. And that's what I was looking for.
Yeah. But sometimes you need some more money for.
Correct.
As you said.
Exactly. Okay. There's also much more of a chance to innovate within product, within services. Yeah. Because in services, eventually comes down to the quality of you, how good you are. Yeah. And that has a ceiling because we humans are not exponential. Yeah.
Okay. And when did you find out how to help hoteliers or in general? Was there any connection to the hospitality sector before, or
no? The reason we started with this current project is a bit by chance. We had been working on some technology in travel
with your marketing agency,
with a small team that half of them I knew from the agency, and I was invited to speak at a conference for hoteliers about marketing.
Okay, nice.
And in the coffee break, I started talking to the hoteliers.
Okay.
And I thought, wow, if we change this idea and we move from this B2C approach to the B2B, then this market is wide open.
Okay.
And so we did a first version of the product and then in the work immediately. So there was a relatively long time to find the core idea, but once we find what we are doing now is more of the same at different scale, but the core idea is the same one.
Okay. And what was the first product at the beginning?
The first product is basically the product today is allowing hotels to improve their performance online in their own direct channel. Yep. So basically improve conversion rates and higher ADR on their website and booking engine. And we started doing that with simple things at the beginning. Getting inspiration from the OTAs. A lot of the stuff we did was what Booking.com was doing. Doing price comparison, doing urgency messaging, doing personalization, and then that evolved into a full-fledged personalization platform covering all of the full funnel. But the core idea that you need to convince travelers to book with you on their website is the same one.
Okay, but it always starts on the website.
Yes,
so not
always on the website. Yeah.
Okay,
we cover our work today is you come to the website and we will help you move through the funnel until you convert and you book a room.
Okay, so then you're talking about the website and, of course, about the booking engine.
Correct.
So the process.
Correct.
Okay.
Exactly.
To get the sales in.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. We are like the marketing and sales layer for your direct website. Exactly.
Okay.
And actually, we work on top of the technology you have. So you need to have a booking engine and a website already.
Okay, that's what I wanted to ask. So you didn't create your own booking engine. You always work with the products that are already in the market, and you optimize them or help to optimize them.
Correct. That's very much on purpose. We think that being a layer on top of the website and booking engine is a better business proposition than doing another booking engine. From the hotel's perspective, because we don't want to necessarily fight with your current provider. We want to add value to what you did already. And then for us, because the process is much quicker, we don't want to go into a battle where there's a million players already that are doing something good.
So there's no bottleneck.
Exactly.
So you don't have to ask, what's your booking engine? Can you use it? Is there a connection or not?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And that was also the idea from the beginning.
That was the idea from the beginning. And at the beginning, it was kind of a bet in the sense that we had no idea. There were not a lot of people trying to do that approach. And now we know it's working, but there are a bunch of people doing that because the process is hard. And then you have to really be committed to the approach. For example, we are now connected, I think it's 405 booking engines.
105?
405.
405, okay.
So the number is so huge that probably if we had known that at the beginning, I don't know if you would take the approach because it looks like a daunting proposition to go and do that. But since you do it over time, little by little, then you just get it done.
Okay. And then you just started with the first clients, I imagine?
Correct.
So how did the first, I would say, weeks and months look like? So where did you start? Not in the garage, because you already had your office before for the marketing agency. But
so I had, by that time, I was not working for the agency at all. So what happened is that we started a team of 5 people. And at that point, I was moving to the US because I wanted to live an adventure with my family.
Okay.
So we had 2 small kids, and it was the right moment to do it. So we moved to San Francisco. So the first 3 years of the company, I was living in San Francisco, and then 3 people were based in Barcelona. And then we added the first salesperson, and then we got the first clients.
Okay.
The first ones, we 3 or 4 people that we knew personally or met through connections. We invited them to use the product for free for a few months, and that was the basis that we built on. I think we did the first invoice about 6 months after starting to work on the project, more or less.
So I'll ask you again, because you've been in San Francisco, Silicon Valley. You didn't start in a garage there.
We didn't. No, but we didn't have an office in San Francisco. We were working from home. I enjoy to work from coffee shops, so that's what I was doing. I basically every day I would choose a different coffee shop around the city and just work from there.
Until they closed in the evening.
Well, yeah.
So you ordered the breakfast.
Exactly.
lunch, some cake.
Funny enough, since we have kids there and we were working also with the team in Barcelona, it was a completely different way to run your schedule because I was free from 3 p.m. on because the rest of the world was already closed back in Europe and Asia. So I had much more free time than I have now.
Okay.
Because of the time difference.
Yeah, sure. But starting in Silicon Valley, I think it's a great start for the spirit and
exactly. That was part of that was part of the adventure too. No, we could have gone basically anywhere in the world to live these few years, but since we were starting at the company, we thought it makes sense to try to do it in the cradle of all of it.
Is it a kind of guarantee that it works out afterwards because it's a good environment and a lot of successful companies come from there? Or?
So I had a great time while I was there, and I think it deserves the fame of being the place to start anything because everyone works on technology. And you never see that anywhere else in the world. And not in the US even.
So you also got a lot of inspiration from others there, from the network. Okay.
If you like that, then you are immersed in that scene 24 hours a day. But then the city itself is quite quiet, much more than probably people would think if you haven't never been there. So you can have a pretty good
I've never been
life.
There. No? Okay.
The only problem it has is super expensive. But apart from that, it's great.
Okay. So this was 7 years ago.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the hotels network is 7 years old now.
Yep.
And what have been the three, I would say, biggest steps? So over the last 7 years. In growing your business,
So when we named the company the Hotels Network, it was on purpose because that's what we wanted to do. To create.
That's a nice question that I didn't want to ask you, but
the name, But that's one of that's the story that we're trying to follow. No?
Yeah,
we wanted to create a network so that because we have a network connecting hotels with each other, we can build products that are unique, and the hotels that are part of the network benefit from something unique.
Okay.
That's why our focus has always been on having a lot of connections and integrate with a lot of hotels to enable something unique afterwards. No? And we feel that now we are halfway through this process. We have now about 16,000 hotels.
Okay, 16,000.
16,000, which is a huge number. And frankly, it was impossible to preview that moment when we started.
In 7 years,
Exactly. But now we want to do 30 and then 50,000. Basically, there's no reason why a hotel would not connect with us because you get some kind of benefit immediately. And then once you have that, then you can start to behave in a different way because you are part of a wider thing. And it's not only you. You have a brand of 7 or 25 or 50 or independent hotel, but you are tiny compared to everything else. If you are part of the network, you're not tiny anymore. And that's the core idea. It's a bit kind of a romantic idea, but if you get together with others, you're more powerful. And we want to enable that.
No, that's exactly what I think. And just this morning, I published a new podcast about being together, work together. It's much easier than working alone. That was in the context of a podcast with the guys from the BVH hotel group. It was Best Western before, then they changed the name. So I had a very nice podcast with Markus Mola, who's the CEO of the Europe company. Yeah, cool. And then when you started in Silicon Valley, you said, did you bootstrap the company in the beginning or?
Partially. So I put about half of the money myself at the beginning, and then
because I imagine with two
exactly the
two kids small already.
Well,
bootstrap always means to eat less, to sleep where you can on the couch. Because I bootstrapped my company in the beginning. So.
I was lucky because I had done this other company before, and I basically used my savings from the previous one to be able to start on the new one. And then I met someone in San Francisco first as an angel investor, but then potentially as a fund that did another small investor at the beginning, James Courier from NFX. And he was also very helpful in introducing me to this local scene there. And then we were pretty lean and semi-bootstrap at the beginning, but then we did get venture capital, and we've raised a total of 13 million so far in 2 rounds, 3 and 10, over the next 5 years after that.
Okay, 30 million.
13, 1 3. Yeah.
1 3, yeah, 13. Okay, cool. Let's talk a little bit about hoteliers today, because you met the first hoteliers 7 years ago during the conference. What's the status quo today in general? Because you have 60,000 hotels, but do they still need so much help as 7 years ago? Or
So
did they improve a little bit?
I think the general quality of the digital experience by hoteliers is much better than 7 years ago.
Because you're always, I think most of your hotels are from hotel groups, or
they are mostly brands. Yes. Yeah. I think the quality is growing better really quickly. But the thing is that the market is so large that there's always much more to do. So, this idea that the future is already here, it's just unevenly distributed.
Okay, please repeat.
The future is already here.
Yeah.
It is just unevenly distributed.
Okay. Yeah.
Meaning some parts of us are living in the future and some of us are living in the past.
Okay, I understand.
This is a pretty well-known quote. It happens a bit like this in the hotelier world. There are some brands and hotels that are extremely advanced and doing really good work, and others are doing the same thing they did in the 90s. And there's the gap between the good performance and the average and the mediocre performance is huge. Okay. So there's always someone who is in the process of becoming.
What will happen with the bad performers in the long run?
I think to many of them are in the process. They want to become better. And I think they are realizing that. Yeah. And I think COVID was an enabler, an accelerator of that realization. Yeah. And then you are just not as profitable if you do that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure.
So you can get by, but it's not such a great business as if you are investing properly.
Yeah, and problems are getting bigger and bigger, so you don't find stuff anymore, and
correct.
You have to get more efficient. So
correct.
Doesn't matter how. And then you help to optimize the conversion. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about your products today. So when you started 7 years ago until today, tell me a little bit about the
evolution of the products. No?
Yeah, the evolution.
So we have started off by offering a personalization product, and that's our core offering. That's what we are about, no? Helping transform the value of the hotel in a type of messaging and content that convinces clients that they should book with you.
Okay.
That's the core of what we're doing. The hoteliers are about the storytelling. You go to a hotel and you pay the money that you pay because you want to live that experience. Yeah. We are helping you tell that story in the website. And by telling a better story, you convince more people, and therefore you are more profitable and you can reinvest. Yeah. So it's a perfect combination if it's working. No? So we started doing that, and then we expanded a lot in this personalization idea. And then a couple of years ago, we launched our second product, which is a benchmarking one. We call it Bench Direct.
It's a product you recently started.
We started about a couple of years ago now.
Okay.
It was March in 21.
Okay.
So almost exactly 2 years.
Okay, nice.
That is the first of our network products. Because benchmarking, by definition, needs a network. Yeah. You never have the data from someone else.
Okay.
So that's the idea.
Nice. Okay.
And in the future, that's what we want to do. We want to have as many of these network products as possible. Yeah.
So you all put your data in one basket?
Exactly.
And then
we anonymize everything so that you never share specific data about any people or any property in particular.
Yeah, sure.
So you can learn from others and basically for free, because we offer this as a freemium product. This idea that one of the core elements in our
this works worldwide as well?
Worldwide, yeah.
Because I'm thinking about data protection and stuff, but
the thing about that, so everyone is quite concerned about data protection, and our experience is that Europeans are even more. And
because if you mix data from America, the States, and data from Europe, so
the thing is, that applies to personal data. That's where it becomes complicated. Yeah. And we don't need personal data. Yeah. We are about behavior data.
Behavior, yeah. Sure.
So we don't care who your name is or what your email is. What we care is what you are doing and what you want in your travel experience. Yeah. So we can use a same data model across the world we do work with European servers, so we are pretty covered for GDPR, but that's kind of a minor issue for us. It's interesting that from the outside, you would think that we are in the core problem of the cookies, GDPR, etc. But that's not necessarily the case because we don't do advertising. We just work on optimizing experience for you. So we are pretty much covered.
Okay.
And we are now the only product in the world where you can compare your e-commerce metrics in the hotel business.
Okay.
Because this specialization, the fact that we only do hotels, means that we are super experts in doing hotels, and no one else there can do the same thing we do because it's too generic. For example, the way to explain what the benchmarking product does is look at your Google Analytics. We tell you that, but for everyone else. Your conversion rate and your revenue and demand and length of stay and all of that you only know for yourself. Now suddenly you have a view of the industry. And this, I always like the idea of benchmarking. When I started working, I just fell into projects in which that was a pretty interesting thing. Because you can only improve if you know what good means. So benchmarking is that even though you thought you were performing great here, that's not necessarily the case. Here and here and here in these metrics, these particular places, there's room to improve. And therefore, that's where you have to focus. Because hoteliers have so many things they could do. So helping to understand what the priorities are, on its own, it's a huge time saver and then contributor to profitability.
Okay. How does communication looks like between the hotels network and the hoteliers? So, because you're still a kind of consulting company, so you help them on a regular basis. Is there any platform where you bring hoteliers together digitally or physically? Not, I think.
So we're a software company, so we don't do consulting. Because that's a different type of expertise.
No, sure.
That you need.
That you don't, but
So we have a pretty strong team supporting hoteliers to use our product, but we don't know enough about your particular brand to give advice to you. We can give you tactical advice, but not the strategic one because it's just too complete. It's not our business. It's people who are who do that better. Actually, we enjoy partnering with consulting companies. So you teach
the people to work with your tools.
Exactly.
This way.
Exactly. And agencies and consulting companies are great partners for us because they are the best user of our product because they know what they are doing and we are a way to execute that much better.
Okay.
So, for example, one of the probably simplest ways in which we bring value is that since you can change the experience in the website in real time, that by spending 10 minutes in our product, we can change the experience that the user is going to see, then you do it much more often. Instead of changing the website once every 3 months, you can do it every week. And because you try many more things, you find things that work much sooner, and therefore your learning cycle is much quicker, which goes back to the idea of benchmarking too. We are about helping every hotelier grow, not into pitching hotels against each other. So we never do something where a hotel has a benefit in spite of someone else. We want everyone to improve, and therefore you can learn from everyone else. If there's let's say, an enemy there, it's the other channels or the other alternatives. It's not your colleagues next door.
Interesting. Really, the whole story behind. So I really like it. And how you explain the hotels network as a brand. I didn't know. There's so much story and idea behind. Where does all the good ideas come from? Do you have an idea, thinking about, brainstorming about new ideas, and how long in advance do you prepare ideas?
Right now, half of them come from the clients themselves.
Okay.
So we are a B2B company, obviously, in the sense that our clients are other companies. So we are in touch with them all the time. Our team is talking to our clients constantly.
Okay. Same as you did 7 years ago.
Exactly. So
Makes sense.
They tell you what they want all the time. The other 50% is that we have a vision on how things could be better. And so we come up with ways to do that. And then we check with the clients if that makes sense. So it's like a push and pull thing. Our clients push us to do something, but we try to pull them to a different place too. Why? Because typically it's not the job of a hotelier to invent things. That's not what you are there for. We are the ones who should invent some things and then you use them. but we don't get the inspiration in the void. It's because we are looking at the opportunities in the market and we're trying to find ways to do it. And a lot of what we do is get inspiration from tech in general.
Yeah,
I personally spend a lot of time trying to learn about all kinds of trends of what's happening in the world, and then how that applies to the hotel business in particular. And a lot of
the biggest trends still come from the Silicon Valley, or what's about Asia, for example, because you're really in the business.
That's a good point. So pure technology,
because everyone in Germany at the moment, everyone is parents in general are afraid of TikTok from China, for example.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. So
what do you think about TikTok? Because you have 2 children. They already use TikTok, or
they only use TikTok now? Yeah.
Only or already?
Oh, already and only. Yeah.
Because my kids are 4 and nearly 2.
No, mine are a bit older, and they are when they consume some content, it's almost always TikTok, which used to be with YouTube. So the platform itself doesn't really matter that much.
No. Yeah.
What you're talking about is what are you looking at and where you're spending your time.
Yeah.
So I think from the pure innovation technology, Silicon Valley is clearly still the one doing that, and the new ChatGPT thing is a proof of that. But in hospitality in particular, interestingly enough, the West Coast is not the best placed.
Okay.
There's much more knowledge and talent for building travel brands where there are more travel brands.
Okay.
And that corresponds to where tourism is worldwide. So Europe is a fantastic place to do that. Because Europe in general.
Europe in general.
And the Mediterranean,
because that's the home of hospitality, you mean, or no?
Because there's more tourism in Europe than anywhere else.
Okay.
So since more people live that in their day-to-days, they have learned what is required. The number of players in the West Coast purely in hospitality is relatively small. Airbnb is really the only company to come out of that in 20 years.
You're right. I never thought about it.
When you look at the other big players in hospitality in the US, they are not in California.
They are
Boston, Washington.
Okay, sure.
And why? Because it's an industry that if you go deep into the industry, and you leave it like Mallorca, I'm sure, especially German audience has been there probably quite a few times. No? If you're in Mallorca, building something around travel is a logical thing to do.
Mallorca is the 17th Bundesland.
I'm not surprised.
You know the joke?
Yeah. Exactly. It's like you have ads for politicians when there's an election in Germany. No? So in Mallorca, so many people live off tourism that this is a natural thing to do. So the talent and the knowledge about that is super powerful.
Yeah.
That's why we are building a company also. We are very international, but I came back to Europe to do it because I thought that the talent here was extremely good.
But is there one city in Europe where I say would be the best city to start something in hospitality tech? Or
I think many places, and especially now, the place itself doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter anymore.
No. We are remote first. I am in Barcelona. We have this office in Barcelona, but it's the only office we have. We have 2/3 of the team that are remote, based wherever. I think we have 39 nationalities in the team, and they live probably in 25 countries.
Okay,
so it's all over the place, and you don't really need to be anywhere in particular. And there are many places in Europe that would settle to do a startup. Many.
How many people are working for THL at the moment?
Now it's 140.
140, okay. Yeah. And how do you reach them as founder? You talk to them on a monthly basis as a team call, or
we do have
participants?
In the tech world, we have this thing that we call an all hands.
Yeah,
it comes from this all hands on deck thing.
Yeah.
No? So we do that about every 6 weeks, more or less, where we get together, and I typically do a presentation, and then we share different things. We have a Q&A, and we go over what is going on.
This takes 1 hour?
A couple hours, more or less.
Couple of hours even, okay.
Yeah. We do it in the middle of the day in Europe so that we can connect everyone. It's kind of late for the Asian team and super early for the America team, but we do one so that we are all there. And then we use Slack all the time. So we communicate with the team constantly on Slack.
Do you have any connection to the Silicon Valley? I really like that you start the business there. You have any connection still to the Silicon Valley? Or?
Yeah, because
the angel investors are still on board? Or
correct, they are still there. And actually, since
that's an interesting point as well.
That eventually built a fund, and now they have invested in dozens of companies.
Okay.
So we are part kind of this family of other companies.
Okay. Yeah.
And we have this discussion.
So you're not part of the fund or of
they invested.
Yeah, of the portfolio.
We are part of the portfolio. And the portfolio probably has, 50, 60 companies or even more now. So there's a range of people that you can reach out to if needed for a very wide variety of topics. And then we are very connected conceptually with the innovation thing happening wherever it is. So we read a lot about what is going on, and a lot of it is coming from there. The people, some of the people we met, we follow them and see what they are writing or talking about. So that helps in this idea of being really close to the last thing that is happening and the best in class in whatever it is that we have to discuss. No? So we are always looking for solutions to do better what we're doing. Yeah. And some of those ones are more experimental. Yeah. But if something becomes... We want to be pretty quick in adopting something that makes sense. Not going for every fad, because that's the opposite of what you want to do. Yeah. But really quick in bringing the hoteliers things, because it's our job. It's not the job of the hotelier to be aware of everything that is going on. It's pretty overwhelming.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
So we can do that.
Is there any team of founders or company where you say, oh, they're really great?
Well, there are multiple companies of that, yeah. I don't know if I would single any particular one, because there
are also older entrepreneurs. So
well, yeah. And
how they did the
when you tell the story of a company, you tend to do it in a way that is very clear-cut. And that's the exact opposite of the reality. There's always a lot of things happening and bumps in the road. So you can recommend or be happy with a company at any given point, and then something happens. And then the resilience of that team going through that is what defines who are the winners eventually. There are some companies that are obviously doing things that are pretty amazing. I started using Stripe 10 years ago already. Stripe is one of those companies that enable things that were impossible before in many sense. And there's quite a few of those too. Yeah. And some of those things are now so affordable that you can do things that 10 years, 15 years ago were impossible. It was just too costly. I think that's one of the major drivers of innovation, that the basic... To do something at this scale is very expensive, but to do something small is very, very affordable.
Yeah. I think there are really good times ahead for you. And now, because the idea of a network, building a network, that's a totally different approach and of how others do the work. You already mentioned Chat GPT. Do you think of to incorporate this to your products, or?
Yeah, for us, there's a couple of places where it's pretty obvious. No? Yeah. So some of our tools are enabling a hotelier to create content display on the website, and it's quite obvious that you can have ChatGPT or GPT helping you to create the content. And actually, we are going to launch that within 2 weeks. No?
When did you know about this tool? Long before it.
We probably learned about it
in media, or
no? We learned about it
because you still have the connection to the secret.
Exactly. Right? Yeah. So the founder of OpenAI is a pretty well-known person, and I met him a couple of times there, not talking necessarily, but they were in the same places because we go to the same events and it's always the same people. No? Yeah. It's normal. Just like in Barcelona, Berlin, you run into people in your business. That's what happens in San Francisco. So the ChatGPT we found the week that they launched. For me, the interesting thing is the proof that is so transformational is that everyone is using it, even if you have no connection with the tech world.
Yeah.
If you look at other technology, you have to be... It's a pretty niche thing, and like crypto, for example, and you have to look for the use case. But if you launch something and your grandma immediately understands how to use it, that's because there's something there. So I think it's probably the one technology in the last 10 years since the mobile platform that is going to be a game changer, because we will just adapt to doing things in a different way. And I think in general it's a good thing, because if it's going to streamline a lot of the manual work that didn't add that much value, then that's a great idea. What's interestingly, the society thought that AI was robots.
And robots exactly.
And they in hospitality, that's the main thing. No, you are instead of waiter, you're going to have a robot doing something, and that's exactly the opposite. It's the other way around. It's the simple intellectual work, the one that is going away, because there's no other value there. The manual work is the one that is always going to stay. If you look at the main cities in the Western world now, when you look at what type of places are shutting down and which ones are opening up on the streets, the new ones are always to eat or to do something to you, like hair dressers or aesthetic places or nails, or because doing something to your body is by definition something you cannot do online. But and eating is something you have to do physically too. But for anything that is not physical, the local approach is impossible to defend because it has no advantage potentially.
I have to think about. But
that's why I think the hotel business is so interesting, because there's not a digital substitute to staying in a hotel. It's I think it's one of the most resilient industries in the world today.
You can automate and processes everything. But you can operate a hotel without any people, of course. But there's always a demand for hotels with people working there. Sure,
exactly.
And there are so many different types of products. Okay, good point. So starting a business or thinking about ideas in the hotel hospitality industry in general, or hospitality tech would be interesting.
I think for sure
because the industry is so resilient.
Exactly. And you can see that is the case because through the pandemic. No, it's impossible to have something worse than shutting down the whole world, where no one can get away from home. The hotel business is stronger now than it used to be before the pandemic. That's why the core need of exploring the world that we have is never going to go away. It's one of the elements that is intrinsic to us as a human being. So, is it a good place to be to provide that type of experience? For sure. A different thing is how much money you make with it, because the fact that there's a need for something and the fact that you can make money, they are different. But it's much better to be in the business of doing something that people love.
So you went to the States because you were looking for adventure for your family. Is there another adventure you have in mind? For you personally, or for your family?
I can tell you there's plenty of adventure in what we are doing now. No? Because these last 4 years have been absolutely a roller coaster. No? With first our growth, then the pandemic, then all of the things we had to do to adapt, and then the market going back. I think the mood in the industry now is very positive. We just were at Fitur in Madrid and ITB in Berlin, and I've never seen hoteliers so happy as they are now.
In Berlin, huh?
Because the situation is so much better than expected. Then everyone is thinking, okay, let's take advantage of this and see how it lasts. So I think it's a pretty good place to be. There's a lot to be done in a business that is very resilient with all of the core elements, especially compared to other industries that are more interesting than most of the other ones. So I think it's a good place to be, and we have a lot of plans for the future.
Cool. And have you had a mentor or coach over the last 7 years? Or?
No, not really. So some of the people. So there's two types of people that you can typically discuss things with. One is your investors and the people that have been there, both in Europe and we have 3 or 4 different investors, both in the US and in Europe. And then the other founders too, because many of the problems that you face are very, very similar. For example, we have this group of founders in Barcelona and this international one in the US. And typically, probably 80% of the things that happen to you are happening to others at the same stage. You have the same problems in hiring, in finding people, in running finance, in growing sales. It's surprisingly similar. I think as humans, we have this idea that we are very different from others, but we aren't. So,
have you been to Stuttgart? Well,
no,
already
no. But I was a student in Germany. I did a semester in Germany. It was in Cologne.
In Cologne, nice city. City as well.
It's very nice. For me, it was a great experience. Ich war ein Austauschstudent.
Yeah, Austauschstudent. Okay. Was it Erasmus or what was it called?
It was similar. I did a program that it was called SEMS. It's a Community of European Management Schools.
Okay.
So every country has one. It was SADE here in Barcelona, where I did my bachelor.
Okay.
It was the University of Cologne in Germany. Yeah.
I did something similar with France.
So, exactly. Yeah.
I spent 2 years in France from the age of 19, and then 2 other years in Germany. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, not in Cologne.
Yeah.
Too close to Stuttgart, where I come from. So, so the first 2 years in France were more interesting. Mm-hmm. That's why I had to start my first business at the time.
Yeah. Okay.
Great. So wish you all the best.
Yeah.
Sure. I didn't mention your name, I think, because
we got into it directly. No? Yeah.
Well, how you?
So my name is Juanjo Rodriguez.
Okay.
Typically, Juan is typically fine for my middle name is Jose. So when in Spain you say Juanjo,
you combine the both, or
it's a combination of both. Yeah.
Okay. So thanks for joining the Hotel Collective today, and also for bringing THN, the Hotels Network, to our platform. So.
No, my pleasure, and I'm happy to be one of the first ones in your new stage.
I'm wishing you all the best. Juanjo.
Yeah.
Gracias.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.